So here we go. We need to get comfortable with PHP. Before we get comfortable with PHP, we have to make sure you're comfortable with HTML, CSS, and to some degree JavaScript. I'm not going to spend any time on that because there's plenty of other tutorials within the course for that. Rather not within the course, but available on there. But I will show you a couple things. First, I'm going to click, I'm in the course you recognize, Web 250, database-driven websites. I'm going to click over here on W3 Schools. That's one of the sites you should just remember. And you'll see up here, we're in W3 Schools, and there's all these different tutorials here. So if you're not comfortable with HTML and CSS, you need to go through these. Here's HTML, then HTML5, then CSS, CSS3, and we're going to jump right to learn PHP. You need to understand how to make a basic shell of an HTML page. I'm just going to say it out loud to you. You should have this in your memory. You can do doc type. You're going to open your HTML tag. You're going to open your head tag. You're going to put your meta tag for UTF encoding 8. That's the only one I copy and paste because I haven't memorized it. You're going to open your title. You're going to put the title of your page. You're going to close your title. You're going to close your head. You're going to open your body. You're going to put all the stuff that goes on your page that's in your body. You're going to close your body and you're going to close HTML. Now, you'll have to check what I just said, and I can show you sort of how quickly I could do that within text environment. So doc type, HTML, HTML. Whenever I open, I also close. And then we have our head and our body. Whenever I open, I also close. And then I'll get rid of spaces because these are places where you never will have anything, right? So I can only put stuff here in the head and stuff here in the body. And in the head, we must put our meta, and then I put dot, dot, dot. You need to find the encoding tag that goes there. It's like charset and UTF-8 and so on. I'll leave that to you to find. And then title, and then my PHP page, and then we close the title. And now you have what should be a fully validating page with nothing on it. We're going to go into the body, and I'll put a heading 2, some kind of page, close the heading 2, and then we'll put a paragraph, blah, de, blah, and close that. So not terribly clean. I'm not using the code editor, but that's the minimum. You should all memorize that if you haven't already. Go do that, close your eyes, repeat it back to yourself if you need to. If I'm feeling sadistic, I may actually make you record a video of yourself with your eyes closed, repeating that back to me. So that's your basic page. You got to have that down pat. So now we go and understand how to put PHP in here. This page I would normally save as, and what I'm going to do here is, come on the desktop at the moment, just to keep things simple. Any day now. You'd think I'd have a nice, high-end computer here, but it seems to be struggling. And I'm just going to make a folder called Web 250. Typically, I teach you in Web 110 and 115 a kind of standard way of working, so you have a local HTML on your computer. I don't really care how you store your stuff on your computer, as long as it's systematic up on the server, which is where I'm going to end up looking at it. So it's unfortunate, but Windows Explorer seems to be misbehaving. It doesn't really know where I want to save this, but meanwhile, I'll go ahead and take away the txt, and I'm going to save this as firstpage.php. And see this encoding here, it says ANSI, Unicode, Unicode bit endian, UTF-8. In this case I'll pick UTF-8 because that's my default. Also I see these browse folders, so I'm just going to go to the desktop, and I'm going to make a new folder on this desktop. Come on. And call it Web 250. And I've saved this as firstpage.php, which you can't quite see there in the window, right here. Very important to get that extension working. One of the first things you debug if your PHP doesn't run, or if you see your PHP code on the screen, is that you have the extension right. And now I go ahead and save it. So now I have a PHP page, and while I'm at it, I want to know what that meta code is. So I'm just going to go to Moodle and view the source code of Moodle, use page source, and I'm going to dig it out from here somewhere, and sure enough, it's right there. I can copy and paste that. And if I'm going too fast, you need to pause, rewind, play again until you know what's going on. I'll go here and I'll paste that in here, Control V, and there we go. And now we have pretty much a good HTML page. And the question is, how do we go to PHP? But first, let's see what this looks like. Windows E opens up my folders. I'm going to go to, whoops, that's Dropbox. I'm going to go to my desktop, And I'm going to go ahead and open up this folder that I had, which was, where was that folder? Web 250. And normally if it's an .html file, you're used to just double clicking and opening it. Well, if I double click it here, it sees that it's PHP, and it doesn't know what to do with PHP, because in order to run PHP we have to be on a web server that has PHP enabled. Later on we'll get into how you can run that on your computer. You need to basically install what's called a LAMP stack, and you can go ahead and get started on that. But for now we just want to do a simple test. The default editor on my machine is Microsoft Expression. On yours it might be Dreamweaver, or you might not have any of those. I really would rather open it in Notepad++, because now we're going to take forever to open up and can't be bothered with all that. So I'm going to pause till this thing opens up so I can shut it down. We'll try again, so hold on a minute. Okay, killed Microsoft Expression Web. I'm going to right click on this and I'm going to edit with Notepad++. Well, my machine is just crawling. Note to self, reboot before you do a recording, or maybe I just need a nicer machine. Do. Yeah. Okay, so there we have it. Nice color coding, which allows me to go back and close the text, the Notepad version. So I'm in Notepad++. So, but this doesn't help me see what it looks like. And if I try and open it with a browser, let me go ahead and demonstrate what that looks like. If I choose Open With, and I pick, oh look, there's Microsoft Web in the back. Let me try and open it with Firefox. Let me close Web too. It's there. Open with Firefox. Thinking. Times like this, you almost think you might want to get a Mac, or just run some kind of command line computer, right? Because these things shouldn't take so long. Yeah. Pause again. So here's what I get in Firefox. Firefox sees that PHP extension, says, I don't know what to do with PHP. I ain't no server. And it looks like I did it twice. And so I just see the code. So if you see the code, it means that either you've got the wrong extension or that the browser is actually not processing PHP. And I misphrased that. The browser doesn't need to process PHP. The web server needs to process PHP. So in order for this to work, we have to put it on the web server. So all of you as students have this web space. Sadly, as a teacher, I don't. In the past, I've registered as a student so I could have my own web space just like you, and then somebody has to pay for it and so on and so forth, and now my student account doesn't work because it's been a couple semesters. So I'm going to go ahead and use my staff account, which hopefully will work. Although now that I think about it, I don't think I've ever tried PHP in that. And it's called www. You can do www or use public HTML, and hopefully you already know how to do that. If you don't, look at all the other videos on Panopto about setting up your web space, or ask on the forum. So I've got this www folder, and just in the hopes that it does work, I'm going to make a new folder called Web 250, and see if I can get that to where y'all can see it. So I have this folder called Web 250, and since it is local, I'm just going to go ahead and save it there. So it's important for you to know how to get around your stuff. We've got an awful lot of different files and folders and things. Hopefully you can track what I'm doing. I'm going to my www folder. If you were a hacker, I suppose you could learn a lot from what I've got in here, but probably not. Go into Web 250, and I call it firstpage.php, and now I save this. So how do I go to this website? Well, in my case, I'm actually going to go to people.cpcc.edu/tilde, and now /tilde, and my ID VDX1878E. Now in your case, you're going to go students.cpcc.edu/tilde your ID. So I do that, and I get all this stuff, and sure enough, down there, if I go down just a little bit, I've got this, come on baby, it's the Windows likes to resize my window for me. I don't want it resized. I've got this Web 250. So in Web 250 is this first page PHP. I click it, and gosh darn it, it tries to download the page, which just goes to show that our faculty site is not web enabled, right? Actually, I'll take it back. It is web enabled, but is not PHP enabled. So you students get to publish PHP files and have them execute on the server. We faculty can't. But that's just another dilemma in the day of teaching, where we have one system, you have another, and we're not given access to your system. So what do I do? Well, there's a couple of different options. I could actually run LAMP on this machine, which means I'm actually going to run a little web server locally. And the way to see if that's already running, because sometimes it is to go to localhost. If you've got a local web server running, localhost will load it up. And it does not find localhost, therefore it doesn't work. I can double check with the IP address of localhost, which is 127.0.0.1, and hit enter. And if it can't find that, it's not working. So what I really have to do now is actually go and upload it to a web space, right? Since this is a 200 level class, I expect you to all get your own domains. You can start out with your student website, but you're really going to need to get your own web space. So what I'm going to do is go through the steps to log into my web space so you can see how this page first runs. So I need to open WinSCP, which is my FTP client of choice. I have a site called yetis.us, and I got to remember how to log in. I don't remember, so now I sneak off to look at my password. So, having looked up my password, I log in, and now you see that I've got access to the root of my website. Here's yetis.us. I've got a bunch of other stuff there, and just for this illustration, I'm going to make a new folder, and I'm going to call it Web250. I have a folder. I'm going to go over on the left side to my desktop, where I have that 250 folder. Here's my first page. And before I do that, let me show you what 250 looks like. I'll go over here, and it's yetis.us, and it just gives me a listing of all those other folders that are in there from different students that have done stuff over the years. So here's 250, and notice 250 is empty. So I Alt-Tab back to WinSCP. I go into 250 on here, and I drag first page over, copy it, bada boom, bada bing. Now I hit F5 to refresh here, and nothing happens. There it is, refresh, first page. So what happens? Well, I look at it, and now you see it actually shows a regular HTML page. Nothing fancy, of course, because we haven't done styles or anything like that, but at least it renders. So now I've set up my whole working environment, and those of you who worked with me before know how this works. We basically have Notepad here, so we can edit our files like so. And I'm working with a partial screen, but normally I make this so it takes up the whole screen that I'm looking at, right? Then we have our files, which are over here. In this case, this one I didn't end up using, so I'm going to just go to the other one. I've got lots of different stuff open here. So I've got these files, and I will position them accordingly. And actually, this is not the right place, but I'll go there. I'll get to the right place. Desktop, and this could be in my documents in your case. In my case, my document is on a network drive, so I feel better just doing that. So here's my working folder, Web250. I could even rename it Web250 Local or something like that. So I'm going to do that. F2 to rename. It doesn't seem to work in the new Windows gallery, so I'll rename that way. And so I'm going to put working Web250. And just so it sorts it at the top of my list, I'm going to put an exclamation point there and hope that that works. Go into it. So there's my working, and I will basically, so we have Notepad. So now if I want to make a change, let's say I just want to put another 2 paragraphs. Control C, Control V, Control V, Control S to save, Alt Tab to FTP. Reposition that nicely and make the window full screen. Drag that over. It'll prompt me and say, hey, you want to replace that? I check the times. Is 8:43, 5:55. I don't know how 5:55 came around, maybe because the server is in California or something, but I'll say go ahead and replace. And then I switch to my browser, which is there, and I hit F5 to refresh. And for some reason F5 is not cooperating. I'll do this. Now that's not cooperating either. So the question is, if I save that file and I don't see those changes, what's happening? Remember, folks, this is live and not scripted, so maybe I didn't save it in the right place. Here it is, first page, but look, 843, and it's actually 856, so that's not the right file. Look in Notepad++, and hey, I'm saving that in the wrong place. So I'll go back, and back, I'm no longer there, I'm back on my desktop, and I'm in that working folder, and save it here, overwrite it. Now I've got that. Now I've got to upload again, Alt-Tab to here. Now I check the times, 8:56 to 5:55. Again, that was about a minute ago. We're 3 hours off, probably because of the time zone where the server is located. And then I go refresh, F5. Come on. I don't know why F5 on my keyboard is not working, but it should work. So now we get the new page. So there you have first kind of round trip with HTML. This is a refresher for all of you guys, hopefully. And because it's all just a refresh, I'm going to jump right to making a new video for PHP, because you didn't need to see all of that. That's just mechanical stuff, has nothing really to do with PHP. The only thing we've done so far that is PHP unique is we saved it as a PHP extension, and we found that we could not look at the file locally because we're not on a web server. So otherwise it's just straight HTML. It's like the .htm and .html files you may have done in the past.